Did they ask any behavioral questions? Were there any surprising questions?
Behavioral questions. I think for my virtual interview, I think I did encounter a behavioral question, but I do not remember what it was exactly, but I do remember that they did put in a behavioral question there.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Because usually behavioral questions have to do with like time management or like, what would you do if like
Yeah.
a client is acting?
But generally, no one did ask me during the OCIs. It was more of a conversation where it was me knowing the other person and them knowing me. And if you go with that mindset, it makes things a lot easier, and it just releases the pressure a bit, and it makes it a conversation instead of an interview. So that's important.
Okay, that's interesting to hear because I've heard that other schools kind of teach students to whenever they answer to a question to kind of bring an element of themselves that may not have been pertinent to the specific question, but they did want the interviewer to find out. So even if the question was what you like about our firm, and they can always be like, by the way, I like your IP group, but I worked at the clinic, and although you didn't ask me about that, I will bring this in the conversation and tell you that I've worked and I've done such a great work at the clinic. And so the things that may not be apparent, they just try to think of ways to bring it up, and they kind of lead the interview and not necessarily just passively following and answering questions.
But I think you have to be very careful with that, because sometimes I think one of the mistakes that I noticed many students make, or was a mistake to me at least, was that when you're talking about an icebreaker, when you're talking about fun, you're not supposed to bring something that, translates back to your ability to do really well in a firm environment. Maybe all they're trying to do is just, make a joke or have a good time. And sometimes, when you're tailing off an answer by, putting something about yourself, a bit about yourself, it can get annoying, it can get a bit, pompous, I would say. So I think you have to be moderate and you have to temper all that, but you're right, in the sense that, for example, a lot of firms ask you why this firm, just as I told you, like it's a whole variation. You have to be, I guess, more specificity, I guess, really matters here. Some people, I think, if they get asked this question, why do you want to apply to this firm? You could find a lot of general answers. Your answers should not be general. So I remember one of the firms that I applied to, I even looked up their international activity, the opportunities they were looking internationally at. And I think that was something that spoke to their entrepreneurial spirit. And that is what I highlighted, that this firm is looking for this opportunity in a foreign market. That means it has an entrepreneurial outlook. And this ties back to the entrepreneurial spirit that I have in myself. This is how you sort of make that connection. So it has to be somewhat specific in that regard. Make it easier for them.